How do you structure a nutrition coaching session? In this video, we'll talk about where to start and what to say so your clients are more likely to change, so you don't repeat the same conversations over and over again, but also so they are more likely to stay consistent for longer, that allows them to actually reach the goals that they have. Welcome to my channel. Many nutrition coaches struggle with feeling confident despite being highly educated. So on my channel, I help them gain the confidence in themselves so they can transform the health and lives of others, allowing them to build a successful nutrition coaching business. And if you want to see more videos just like this one, make sure that you subscribe. So what does a coaching session actually consist of? Where do we start? What are the steps that we need to go through? How do we get our clients to take action? And is there anything that I'm currently maybe missing in my coaching sessions? And how does a coaching session actually looks like? What is the natural flow of a coaching conversation? And what are the topics that you should talk about and what should you say during a coaching session so you're not jumping ahead and maybe creating resistance or a disconnect for the client so they don't know what to do anymore? So we will talk about the best practices to structure your coaching sessions. And that includes questions like, who gives the direction in the coaching call? Is it you or maybe is it the client? And why is a structure so important for a coaching session? So from a high-level perspective, there are 4 key stages in every coaching session. We have the opening, the beginning of the session. Think about this as the roughly first 5 minutes. This is a warm-up. You build the rapport and the connection with the client. From there, we will focus the conversation. We will look at one specific target behavior that the client is ready, willing, and able to change. From there, we evoke motivation. We build and strengthen their reasons to change. And lastly, we plan the next action step. What specific daily practice are your clients going to do so they get a step closer to their goals? If you don't follow this structure, it means you will have the same conversations over and over again, and your clients will likely feel stuck or maybe even disconnected because they have the feeling that you're not listening, that you have your own agenda and you're not interested in what they really want. However, if you follow this structure, you will stay on track every single session and your conversation will follow a natural flow that makes sense for the client and actually walks them step by step through the change process, which means they are more likely to change. And when they start to change, they will stick with it for longer. So you're building also consistency. And if you want a checklist that helps you stay on track so you never miss any critical steps during your nutrition coaching session, make sure that you write checklist in the description below. So when you follow these 4 stages, you will notice how you feel more confident and more prepared because you know exactly what to do. And that means your clients will see you as a present coach and a great listener. And that actually finally allows them to have the deep transformation that they're actually looking for. And this deep transformation then results in actual behavioral change and them losing weight or gaining muscle. Helping your client take action consistently, that's your number 1 priority as the coach. But often we jump ahead to action taking and miss critical development steps for our clients. And that's what we want to cover in this video. What are the critical steps that you may miss right now in your coaching session that prevents your clients from actually consistently taking action? Let's zoom out for a second. How do we prepare for a coaching session? We first review the notes. That could be the intake questionnaire or maybe a check-in form. Then you plan the next action steps. If you're interested in these steps, I have separate videos where I talk about in depth about these steps. You can find the videos here and also in the description below. Another part that many coaches miss is that you yourself, your mind and your body also have to be prepared for the best coaching sessions to happen. And if you're interested in how to prepare yourself, not just your notes, then you can check out the video here and also in the description below. So in this video, we will focus specifically on the structure of the coaching session. And make sure that you watch the video all the way to the end, because I will share with you 3 powerful tools that will bring your coaching session to a completely new level. How do we start a coaching session? How you start your coaching session will determine the direction of your coaching session. So getting a great start sets your clients up for success. No brainer, first step is begin on time, and that includes preparing your notes, organizing your space, and centering yourself to be present with your client. Then it's super helpful to start on a positive note. Clients are often very nervous, especially in the beginning of coaching. So letting them know how much you appreciate that they are taking the time is a great start in the very beginning of the coaching session. From there, you can give a brief overview over the session. So what are the stages and steps that you're going through to help them change? Another part that many coaches miss is that your clients, just as you, have a very busy life. They often come from a meeting or a difficult conversation or from a commute to you, so their brain is still everywhere and their heads are full with thoughts. So giving them a moment to be present with themselves and with you is critical to have a great start. And a simple question to do that is, so what's on your mind right now? And you know it yourself. When somebody asks you how you're doing, what's on your mind, you often not talk about everything that is actually on your mind. So give them permission to go deeper. And you can ask a simple question like, and what else? Because think about the first 5 minutes of a coaching session as kind of a warm-up. You're starting with some light questions before you go deeper into more difficult questions later in the coaching session. So how do you know that you can actually move forward from the beginning, the opening of the conversation, to focusing? Look for signs that you have a real conversation. Are they giving you some generic responses, or is there something actually unique to the person in their responses? Do you feel like you actually have a connection, or is it just a lot of talk but nothing really opening up? Once you notice you have a real connection with your client, you can start to focus the conversation. And focusing the conversation is really important, because that is what coaching is about. A focused effort towards change. Without the focus, it would be just a nice conversation. This stage of the coaching session is perfect to hold your clients accountable. You could go through their check-in form and see what went well, what didn't went well, how did they overcome their challenges. You can also ask for their experiences. This is a great moment to celebrate their wins, but also discuss everything that might have been difficult. And if you want to learn how to create your own check-in form, you can check out the video here and also in the description below. So in this stage, you ask questions like, what is working, what is not working? What are the obstacles that you have faced in the last 2 weeks, for example? How did you overcome them, and what did you learn? These are critical questions that give you very, very important coaching data that informs you what could be the next step. How can you overcome the next challenge? So at this point, you have your insights from the preparation and you have the insights you learned from the client. And you can create kind of a menu. You can find a couple of different items or action steps that they could focus on for the next 2 weeks. And a great transition from collecting insights to focusing is something like, given what we have discussed, I have some ideas how to move forward, but I would like to learn what you think is a good path forward. But be careful at this stage. There is a mistake that many coaches do, and that's the premature focus trap. You go very well prepared into the coaching session, so you have an idea of where the client could go or should go. And that is actually the biggest downfall for you as well, because you come into the session with an agenda. And if you don't let go of the idea of control, And if you're not listening carefully, you could focus too quickly on something that you think is important, but your client doesn't think it's important. And if that happens, disconnect happens. They think that you are not listening, that you are not interested in them. And if that happens, resistance happens, and your client will be stuck. So in this stage, often ask yourself, is this something that I want, or is it something that the client wants? Check yourself, check in with yourself. Are you working together with the client, or is there a conflict? Are they arguing for one thing and you for another thing? Coaching can only work when two experts, the client and you, work together towards a common goal. So how do you know that you can move forward from the focusing stage? First, of course, check, is what you're talking about actually what the client wants? Are they willing to change? But also, is the target behavior specific enough? So it needs to be clear, it needs to be specific, it needs to be relevant to the aim of the client. And of course, it has to be something that they can actually change and control. From there, we build and strengthen their motivation for change. Here's a critical idea that is very important to repeat. Let go of the idea of control. You have no say in their change process. You have to respect that this is their journey through change. So give them lots of space, especially in this stage of the coaching session, to explore their feelings and their thoughts around the target behavior. And instead of guiding them towards one way or the other, be a mirror for them. Create this open space for them, so actually the transformational insights about what they want and why they want it can actually happen. A very simple way to start this conversation is to check their confidence. So you could start by asking something like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how ready are you to make this change if you decide to change it? And if they say, oh, I'm an 8 or a 6 or a 7, that means there's still some ambivalence and there are some barriers to change. And we will talk about this in a second, how to explore and overcome this. If on the other hand they say, oh, I'm a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 confident that I can actually implement this change, then you can proceed to the planning stage of the coaching conversation. Here are a couple of questions that you can ask to build your client's confidence when they said they're an 8 or lower on the confidence scale. So you could ask something like, you are at a 5 and not a 0. Why is that? And the beautiful thing is they suddenly argue for change. They give you all the reasons why they are so confident. You can also ask what they need. So what would it take for you to get a higher number, a 6 or a 7? You can also use the superpower strengths and resources lists that I talked about in other videos, where you look at what are the resources that I already have, what are the specific superpowers that I have as a client that will help me with this step. And this includes making a strategy. How can you combine different ideas that you already have? How can you make this work specifically in the client's life? This also includes looking back. Maybe they have made similar changes in the past, and you can explore what has been the key to success in these past changes. What do you do if you ask all these questions and they still don't feel confident to take action? Then you're facing ambivalence or resistance. So what could be happening here? The change could be too big. It is too much of a change that even by building up their confidence, they are still not ready to actually take action. A very simple change is shrink it. Try doing it 50% of the time, or making it 50% easier. Maybe they're resisting your agenda. We talked about the premature focus trap. Maybe you have guided them too much into one direction, and they're actually not at all comfortable with your idea of change. So they're resisting, they're pushing back, and no amount of confidence building will get them out of that. It means that you have to take a step back and reassess if you're actually focusing on the right change. And then there's the option of ambivalence. Ambivalence means that your clients wants one thing and another thing. So they might be holding on to something that they perceive as valuable or something that they're not ready yet to give up. And the key in these situations is to recognize change talk. And I have a video here and also in the description below that shows you how to elicit change talk, recognize change talk, and how to respond to change talk. And change talk essentially is everything that the client says that supports them making changes in their lives. So understanding change talk is critical, and you can check out the video in the description below. Especially in the beginning, this can be very frustrating because you often get the feeling of, oh, what I'm doing wrong. Why is my client not confident? But actually, this is great news. It means you're pushing your client to a point where the actual growth, the actual transformation can happen. So instead of being frustrated, be curious because you are learning something that is important to your client right in that moment, and you're looking change in the eyes. So once you walk them through this process and they are a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 confident that they can practice the target behavior for the next 2 weeks, for example, you can move to the planning stage, and that means preparing them to leave the session. A couple of great questions you can ask here are, what will help you do this action, do this target behavior? What could get in the way of success? So it's about planning and preparing for whatever can happen. And that means, how could a plan look like to overcome these obstacles? And in many cases, your client also have to talk with the loved ones or colleagues or somebody else to actually make a change. So make sure that you also consider this. And once you have talked about that, you can close the session. That often means discussing the next time you check in. So make time for yourself and also make time for the client session. Then you can write down what you have learned about the client. What are the key insights, their whys, their values, their struggles, their strengths, and their potential next actions. And often a great practice is to take 30 seconds or so and quickly go through the session and think, what went well, what didn't went well, and what would I maybe change in the future? And if you want to push your nutrition coaching sessions to the next level, so your clients cannot wait to talk about the great experiences that they have, and that you also push retention with your clients because they're so happy with your work, then I have something for you. You can finally gain the confidence to transform the health and lives of others with my free coaching session preparation kit. It comes with a check-in form that you can use between sessions so you can optimally prepare for your coaching sessions. It includes checklists that guide you through the process of the first coaching session, but also follow-up coaching sessions that we talked about here today. Also, you will get a nutrition client info tracker. That means you can save all the important insights that you learned during the coaching session. And that means you prepare more easily, but also more deeply. And that gives a greater sense of professional and expertise when you work with your clients. And if you want all that and a lot more, you can check out my free coaching session preparation kit in the description below. And if you have any questions left on how do you structure a coaching session or how do you build your nutrition coaching business, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram.